Hi, I'm Marcus Coward, and this is Wake Up New Bedford, and I am here with Mark Dressel. He is several things, but one of which being a New Bedford High student. Okay. Mark, thanks for being here.
Thanks for inviting me.
And so, one of the things we haven't touched upon at all is your involvement in the community as far as for community service.
Yes, my community service. So, as I mentioned in part one, I'm part of the Student Advisory Council at New Bedford High School, and with that, since it's a school-wide board, one of the things I brought was I was like, all right, Elliot, as the chair, either you're gonna help me with this or I'm doing it on my own. There's no real in between.
Love the conviction.
I'm running a toy drive. It's either with the Student Advisory Council or it's by myself.
Wow.
And he was like, all right, cool, let's bring the Student Advisory Council on board with it. So that's what we did. I ran a toy drive from, I want to say, it was like the last couple of weeks in November to pretty much till Christmas. We ran a toy drive at New Bedford High School, and it was pretty good turnout for New Bedford High School. I'd say last year we definitely had a lot less. We got involved with the 3 middle schools. We had a couple elementary schools on board that I knew their principals, so I emailed them and I was like, hey guys, we're doing a toy drive, you should join in.
Wow, okay.
It's the equivalent of the New Bedford Public Schools HR email us and was like, hey, we wanna know more, we wanna get involved.
Sure.
Like the week before it ended, and we were like, oh, all right, cool. We sent them their information. And then it was like a couple weeks before it closed, I got a message from my principal, and she was like, so you were nominated in the Human Rights Commission for the Human Rights Award or something like that. I forgot what it was officially called. I was like, oh, okay, cool. And she was like, yeah, you won. She's like, so you're going to get a day off of school. You're going to go to the Whaley Museum.
That's dope.
Get to see this ceremony with a bunch of other kids. And I was like, okay, all right, this sounds fun. They're like, there's going to be breakfast. I was like, you sold me. I'm all set.
That was the best part
I'll be there.
What are you talking about?
They were like, there's catered breakfast. I was like, deal. So,
okay.
So the day came. It was really nice. It was actually kind of nice out. So I got there a little early because I didn't have to go into school that morning.
Yeah.
Because
you got the day
why
off.
would I? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I went in a little early, walked around downtown a little bit, got to the Whaley Museum. It's a big ceremony, a bunch of politicians there. The mayor was there, a representative from Bill Keating's office was there, and both the mayor and Bill Keating gave out little, not diplomas, but they looked like diplomas, little certificates of we recognize you for your community service. So me and a couple other kids, one of which is actually running a fundraiser right now, and I'm going to plug it because I can.
Sure.
One of them, she's running a fundraiser to help fight blood cancer. So I'm going to give you that information. And
I've come across it, but send it to me again.
Yeah, I'm going to give you that information so you can let everyone know.
Yeah, absolutely.
So she won one. Some people from Whaling won some. There was an organization, I forgot what the organization was called all these months later, but they won one, and then an individual person won one, and it was pretty cool. It was nice. It was a little celebration of community service, and their breakfast was great.
So I was there. I didn't get a chance to talk to you, but no, it was really cool. I felt like that the city and the Human Rights Commission was celebrating young involvement in the community. And do you feel alone in that fight? Or do you feel like there are other young kids like you doing?
There are definitely other young kids like me, and they're definitely fighting, but there are also young kids like me that want to fight, but not everyone knows how.
Sure.
Or not everyone has the courage to start. You know what I mean? It takes a lot to go up to someone and be like, I want to do this. I want to organize this. Help me out, please. It takes a lot. But the best advice is sometimes just go ahead and ask politely. For example,
what a way to put it. Yeah.
For example, that person who's fighting for blood cancer, Tatiana, she developed a little team at the high school of high school students that we're going to help her out. And my friend, his name's Alex, he's on it. And he was like, I want to raise $20,000 by April. Wow. And I was like, okay. I was like, that's a lot.
That's a goal.
I was like, that's a lot. But okay, let's
see what we can do.
Try it. Yeah. Just try it. I'm like, it's a lot, but we're going to try it. So he's like, okay. And he came up with this idea, and it's over now, but maybe he'll get extra ones. Sure. But he came up with an idea, and he was like, what if I create like a custom drink at Bestie's downtown? He said, what if I create a custom drink at Bestie's, and like part of the proceeds go to this fundraiser that I'm doing?
That's an amazing idea.
And I was like, that's a great idea, Alex. And he was like, yeah, but I don't know how to start. And I was like, maybe just
ask.
I was like, just ask. The worst they're gonna say is no. And it took him like a week. It took him a week of like limbo of like, am I gonna do it? Am I not gonna do it? And he eventually decided, I'm just gonna do it. So we went in and he asked, and they were wonderful to him. Like the stories he was telling about how they like received him. He was like, they were great, and they were like, they said yes, and they organized a drink. And so for the past like week, there was a drink. It was called Bubble Yum. 50% of the proceeds went to his fundraiser to help fight blood cancer. Wow. So it's things like that. Like there are definitely people that want to fight. But sometimes it's the how do I get involved? How do I know that what I'm doing is impacting it and is not just like busy work? So there are 100% people that want to get involved. There are definitely people that are involved, but it's an uphill battle when you're young to get that courage to just go in and start.
So where did you find your courage to do what you're doing?
So it started with the Zyterian Teen Ambassador Program. Which it sounds like a strange place for it to start, but it did.
No, absolutely.
I was interested in the theater and theater arts. I love performances.
Sure.
And I was like, oh, let me get involved with this. So I did. And one of the things that they want you to do is when they bring you to an event, you like take pictures and do like interviews with the stars and stuff. And like just kind of create a little social media post. So that's how it started. We started like taking pictures and doing interviews. And what it taught me was 9 times out of 10, if you just ask someone politely, like, hey, can I take a selfie with you? And like, can you explain to me what you're doing here? They'll do it because they love what they're doing usually. So I was like, okay, this is nice. And then
when did you do that, by the way?
When did I do that? I did that last summer. 2 summers ago. Yeah, I think it was last year. And then last summer, the Zyterian's going under a giant renovation. And they're finally having their groundbreaking ceremony after like being under construction for like a month. But they finally have their groundbreaking ceremony. So they invited all of us teen ambassadors. So I went, and it was like a who's who of like politicians in New Bedford and this area. And I was the only teen ambassador that showed up. So I knew nobody there. And I was like, oh, okay. And so what I did was I just started talking to people, like just because on the program there was a little spot that was like socializing. I was like, this is strange, but all right, if this is how it works, okay. So I just started socializing, and I started talking to State Senator Mark Montigny. And when he started his career as a politician, he started as like a school politic person, like at the university level, and has gone on, and we kind of had common ground on that. And I was like, if I can talk to Mark Montigny, who was like the best speaker at this event, I can talk to pretty much anyone. So I was like, I've got like this newfound confidence. And that summer I just kind of spent the most time I could networking and getting involved downtown because I'm from the north end. So going downtown, it takes like a 20-minute drive if there's traffic. So I wasn't involved in the downtown area, but that summer I was like, you know what, that's going to be my goal for this summer. Just get more involved. Just like find people that I can talk to, find people that I can like be like, hey, you're going to an event, I'm going to hop along and see what's going on?
And so was that the same summer where we first met and then you were taking pictures downtown?
100%. That was the same summer.
Yeah.
At that Zyterian event, I had asked one of the Zyterian workers that I knew, I was like, are there any like internship programs or like paid opportunities that I could take a part in like downtown? And she was like, yeah, check out Third Eye, Youth Empowerment.
Sure.
It's like, okay. So I checked out Third Eye, and they're wonderful. I love them.
Okay.
They just had their like building opening, so great things to come.
Sure.
But I started getting involved with them, and one of the things that they were involved in, I forget, it's the Summer Sound Series?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were involved in the Summer Sound Series, and they had cameras, and they were like, oh, you do social media posts with the Z. Take the camera, and you can like try out the camera and try out different pictures, and we'll email them to you if you want to post any of them.
Sure.
And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, they were like, yeah, just go down. It's like a block down. I was like, all right, this sounds like fun. I was like,
so interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then I went down, and I actually really liked the Summer Sound events.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Because it was fun to network with people that I had never met, like you.
Yeah.
And then it was fun to listen to the live music.
Yeah, of course.
Because it's live music, and live music is always better than pre-recorded music.
Yeah.
It just, the vibes were immaculate, and it was the summertime, and it was great.
It was a great time.
Yeah.
Yeah. What an opportunity.
I know.
And like kind of random, but like, it sounds like a lot of what you've learned is asking politely, sure, but also just putting yourself out there.
Exactly.
Yes.
Sometimes like you just gotta look at it and be like, the worst they can say is no. And if they say no, then what? I'll just ask someone else.
Exactly.
Or if they say no, then what? Then I'll just like tweak a little bit of my plan. Okay, not that big of a deal. The world's not gonna end.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be banned from downtown if someone says no to me once. It's gonna be okay.
And so, have you started working yet at all?
Not yet. Well, not officially yet. I had an internship with C-Lab over the summer.
Sure.
But it was unpaid. But then over that summer, while I was interning at C-Lab, my problems with my hip got a little worse, so I was walking with a cane for the last half of the year, and then I've been doing physical therapy.
Okay.
So I haven't been like stable enough to work yet, but I'm just about at the point where I'm like, okay, I know what's up with my hip. I know what's up with all of this. I know that PT just ended. They said I'm good.
Okay, cool.
And surgery's off the table, so
yes, man.
I know that now I can like be like, okay, I don't have to worry about having a cane in one hand and not being able to stand up for hours if I go work a job at like Stop and Shop or something.
Sure.
Like now I can start applying to places. So
okay, all right,
I'm
great.
excited.
And so I'm just so excited to ask you about this because you bring up PT and that now you're healthy again. Dancing, okay. How did that start? And tell me a little bit about it.
All right, so dancing started when I was 2. Well, it started before then. So
It started before you were 2.
My mom, she's been a teacher at Cheryl McCormick Academy of Dance for years and years and years, like even before I was born.
Sure.
And she'll always tell this story whenever people ask how I started dancing. Whenever they ask her, she's like, when she was pregnant with me, she'd be at dance running music.
Yeah.
And whenever she put on music, she'd feel
really
like me start like kicking and moving around, and she's like, he's gonna be a dancer when he's born. Like that's just how it's gonna be.
Okay.
So then when I was born, I guess when I was little, she'd bring me to dance because you can't leave a little kid at home. And I'd see like the big older girls dancing, and I'd look at her and be like, when's it my turn?
Really?
When's it my turn?
Wow.
So at 2, she signed me up, and I've loved it ever since.
Yeah.
It's been great. It's definitely shaped my view. Like I probably wouldn't have had as much confidence in like being able to go in front of people and just like do nonsense.
Yeah.
Because essentially that's what dancing is. You're going up and you're
just moving.
You're moving. You're performing to music.
Yeah.
People are either gonna like it or not like it, and at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. You did it and you enjoyed it.
Exactly.
You had fun.
Yeah.
So it builds a level of confidence.
Absolutely.
But as I was dancing, I think it was about a year ago. Yeah, about a year ago, last year. We have competitions in March.
Okay.
And what happened was I was doing ballet at Ballet Bar, and I was doing like tendus, pointing my toes and shifting my weight.
Okay.
And every time I shifted my weight onto my right hip, I felt this like pop. And I was like, oh, that's not good.
Yeah.
And I was like, if it's a one-time thing, maybe my hip just popped. But
Yeah.
I kept doing it, and it kept popping, and I was like, that's really bad. So I went and I talked to my mom, and I talked to the owner of the studio, and we ended up going up to Boston, in Boston Children's Hospital, and what they found was I have femurs that are twisted.
Okay.
So instead of being like straight, like maybe the normal twist is like 15 degrees, say,
Sure.
mine's like 50 or 60 degrees.
Holy moly, yeah.
Yeah, so my femurs are like really
They're
really,
dancing.
really twisted, yeah. And what the doctor said was what happens is you have like a naturally turned out like feet.
Okay.
And he's like, what that popping is when you walk and that popping is when you do stuff is like your femur is like rubbing against your like hip bones and stuff, and he's like, that's not good.
Yeah.
So he's like, you can either get your femurs broken and like refix it and readjust everything. He's like, but that would mess up your knees and you probably wouldn't be able to do much. Like you'd be able to walk, but anything else is like
off the
hoping
table.
and praying. Like, and he's like, or what we're gonna do is we're gonna try physical therapy first to try to manually make you like unconsciously turn in more.
Okay.
So that's what we did. I went through physical therapy, and what happened was, it still happens every once in a while, but I'm more turned in now. Like when I walk, my feet are more turned in. And even though it feels kind of awkward for me to walk, like I feel like I'm walking like a duck.
Yeah, sure.
What has happened is it's not rubbing against the things it's not supposed to rub against.
Yeah.
So it's been getting better. And
Nice.
I went up to the doctor about a month ago, and he was like, okay, you're getting better with physical therapy. When physical therapy says you're clear, you're good. He's like, as far as I'm concerned, you're good to go back to dancing as long as you're not turning out.
Oh, okay,
I was
really?
like, okay.
Okay.
So some styles of dance, like ballet, like that's all turnout, so I can't do those anymore. But like my favorite style of dance, tap dance, that's not all turnout,
really?
so I can still do that one. So
Okay.
I'm happy.
Okay. And so do you do like, clearly you do multiple, but how many different styles do you do?
I think consistently, right now without ballet, it's 2.
Okay.
I've tried things like acrobats and hip hop, and I haven't been very good at them.
Sure.
But I tried them, and they were fun when I did them.
Sure.
But
so tap dance and then
tap dance and jazz dance.
And jazz dance.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or jazz.
Yeah.
Kind of like more like a musical theater-ish type of jazz, but yeah.
Interesting. And then so, like I went to Backstage Academy when I was younger. Okay. Like where do you go for classes?
I go to Cheryl McCormick's Academy of Dance.
Sure.
Right off of Kings Highway.
Got you.
North End, yeah.
Okay. And that's been your where your dancing career has been.
100%.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever gone anywhere else.
Sure.
I've been with them for 15 years.
That's super cool. And so, one of my dreams, like it's just something I bring up because I can't help but like think about it. Like when I was younger, I was a big fan of America's Best Dance Crew. Yeah. Okay. Love it. I watched every episode online. Okay. I loved it. And I always imagined myself at some point being in a dance crew.
That would be fun.
That'd be super cool.
That would be so fun.
Like, has that ever come across your mind? Is that a scene in New Bedford? Is that a possibility?
It 100% has been something that comes across my mind.
Okay.
Like, especially loving tap dance so much. Like if you watch any of the older musical movies, like with Gene Kelly and Fred Astaire, like tap dance is a huge part of it.
Huge.
So I've always looked at them and be like, man, what if I could like just like do tap dance for the rest of my life and like get paid for it?
Yeah,
like, that would
literally.
be so fun.
Yeah.
But with the styles of dance that I do, they're not the most popular. They're becoming less and less popular.
Yeah.
But there's definitely still a scene for it. Like if you see New Bedford Festival Theater, like they have dance numbers, and sometimes they'll just be like, "Hey, we're looking at studios. If you have dancers, we need background dancers.
Yeah.
So you can go and audition and."
And you'd be down for that?
That would be fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
There've been a few like, do you know South Coast Children's Theater?
No, I haven't.
So they're a children's theater that runs locally. They usually do their performances out of Keith Middle School.
Sure.
And the people that run it, most of them, or a decent chunk of them have gone through Cheryl McCormick's.
Okay.
So most of the dance choreography are choreographers that had some training at Cheryl McCormick's.
Yeah.
So a lot of our dancers, when we had a lot, would go when they were like old enough to South Coast Children's Theater and be like background dancers. Some of them would get like lead parts because why not?
Yeah.
So it's weird how things like that, they just kind of like intertwine. Like you know one person who knows another person, and then you two combine, and now you have this whole nother set of connections.
Yeah.
I think the dance scene in New Bedford is kind of like, it's weird because you kind of have to know people who know people.
Sure.
To get connected. And it varies depending on the discipline of dance.
Sure.
Because there are some disciplines that are like, oh yeah, there's like that. And then there's other disciplines that are like, yeah, there's this much that you can do. Like there's this option, this option, this option, this option. And it's hard to choose. But some of them, they're like ultra specific. Like tap dancing, there are very strong studios in New Bedford. There are also studios that offer tap, but are just kind of like the basics of it.
Yeah.
There are studios that are like, yeah, we'll give you tap, like hard tap, like classic tap that like people in Boston would teach. And then same with like things like ballet. There are studios that are like, yeah, we offer it as like a basic technique. And then there are other places that are like, yeah, we're going to give you like Boston ballet type ballet dancing that like if you wanted to and you went up to Boston, you'd have a shot at getting into the ballet.
Okay.
So.
Okay. You just totally answered my question and more. And I'm glad to see that not just gave you confidence, but you just have a hobby. Like so many people just don't even have hobbies nowadays. It's either just like watching Netflix or being on their phone, but you actually have a passion and a hobby that you've been keeping up with that actually brings you joy, you know, that I'm so happy for you. And so we're wrapping up part 2, okay? But I definitely want to ask you about, and we talked a little bit off camera about school committee meetings, and so we don't really have to talk about that right now because we don't really have the time. But 2 things that kind of go hand in hand that I want your opinion on and also what students' opinion on are the metal detectors or weapons detectors and then SROs.
Okay.
Okay, so you can start with either one.
So at New Bedford High, just this year we got weapon detectors.
Okay.
And over the summer, well, the year previous, the Student Advisory Council kind of like got the, hey, this is probably going to happen, FYI. And we were like, oh, this is a bad idea. We were like, this is not a good idea. This is going to cause so much problems. And then the students found out, and they were like, we hate this. Don't do this, please. Like, don't do this, New Bedford High. And New Bedford High went and did it anyway. And what we found is we've done surveys. We've asked people around. The district has asked. And what we found is that the things that we thought were going to happen, like they were going to close down a lot of our entrances and really like shrink the number of entrances we had in the building. Yeah. What we thought was there's so many kids coming into the building, it's going to cause like so much traffic.
Sure.
And it's going to be a pain. It really hasn't.
Okay.
The way they run it, it's really smooth. It's really efficient.
Okay.
I got to give credit to them.
Sure.
They're doing a really good job.
Okay.
And we go right in. Like you hand your laptop over, walk through it. If you get pinged, you go over. They search whatever they need to search really quickly. Usually they don't find stuff because most of us, like it just pings like our keys or something.
Sure.
And then you're on your way. And what, So
are people feeling safer because of it?
That's one of the things that we did a survey. We did the survey, and that the efficiency was the biggest thing. They were like, it's actually going really smoothly, way smoother than we thought. And they were like, we actually feel better because we know more or less that people aren't coming in with things that they shouldn't be coming in with.
And before now, like, was that an issue?
It was.
Sure.
With certain people.
Of course, yeah.
Like, I don't want to say it was a widespread issue because majority of people did not come in with things they weren't supposed to come in with.
But it happened.
But there were those kids that did.
Yeah.
And I'd be shocked if it eliminated it completely.
Of course.
If you want to sneak something in, you're going to sneak something in.
Yeah.
But it's definitely an improved atmosphere because now you know those kids that don't need it or aren't trying, like,
they
don't have it. Yeah. So there's definitely an improved sense of safety.
Cool.
And
I feel like that's the most important thing.
Yeah, I haven't seen like actual numbers on if it like has improved, like actual counts of who's carrying what. But regardless, it's making the students feel safer.
Good.
And they were actually very well received. One of the biggest fears was because you have to take your laptop and stuff out, and like binders, you can't pass it through or it'll ping it, and you have to pass it out. Their biggest fear was like, we're gonna cause traffic jams, and it really didn't happen. And
that's good to hear.
Yeah, we thought it was gonna be very bad.
But it's been better than you thought.
It was way better than we thought, and it's been doing pretty good.
And then what about SROs?
SROs, so I haven't heard much about SRO officers, like the policemen. The policemen, for the most part, to my knowledge, are pretty like well liked in their buildings. Like the officers, I know when I went to elementary school and middle school, they both shared the same officer. So in elementary school, we were like, oh, we love this officer. We'd write him cards and stuff. And then when we got to middle school, he was at the middle school more often. So we were like, oh, we know this guy at this middle school, even though we don't know anybody else. We know him.
That's cool.
And he's nice and he's fun. But at the high school, there's more than just an SRO. There's also like a security team.
Sure.
So the security team, I don't want to go into too much because most of it is just rumors.
Sure.
But there are definitely rumors that go around about the security team that are not great.
Sure.
I don't want to say anything like
as far as if you had to keep them or get rid of them, which would you pick? Like, do they have more pros than cons?
I would keep them, but I would reform bits and pieces of how the security is run.
A lot of people say that they could be trained better and have more training, either when it comes to dealing with students, dealing with special needs students especially. And so is that, you would agree with that?
I think I would have to improve training of the security, and also the vetting process, or the background checks, and who security is involved with.
Sure.
I would definitely look at that and see what needs to be reformed, or what rumors are true and what rumors are just kids making stuff up to make security look bad because security flagged them for not wearing their ID. Me personally, I haven't had too many run-ins with security, but I know kids that haven't, but know people that have.
Sure.
And those people spread not great things about certain people. And some of them are security officers that don't necessarily flag people for little things like that. So they don't really have a reason to be mad at that specific security officer.
Sure.
But there's still a rumor that's being spread. And
so do you think that happens, obviously not all the time, but enough where it's a problem, where people start rumors out of anger or because they're vindictive?
I don't think it happens all the time, but I definitely think it happens more often than people would like. Sometimes I feel like there's a little bit of truth and then someone's angry, so they stretch it. And then it becomes a really big thing where in reality it's just that tiny little thing that isn't actually anything wrong. But then sometimes someone's angry and knows something about that person.
Sure.
And it's like, oh, I'm angry at you, so I'm going to tell everyone about it. And and that thing's completely 100% true. So it's definitely a weird thing, and the way it spreads at the high school is weird because sometimes you don't even know how it started. You just know it's around.
And you've heard it, and so now it's just in there.
And now it's there. You see that person, you're like, ooh, okay, let's. It's just in the back of your mind, and you're like, oh, I don't know how I feel around that person anymore.
Sure. Dang, so that can really ruin the reputation of
100%.
A decent officer.
100%. Or I don't want to. It doesn't happen as often with teachers because teachers you can get in a lot, or you can get in trouble for doing it with anyone. But with teachers, it's a lot harder to do it with. But when it happens with teachers, sometimes it blows up. I know there have been teachers that have disciplined a kid because they did something wrong. They broke the rule. They did the normal thing, you're in trouble. You can't go on this trip. You can't do this. You can't do that. like a normal teacher would do, and then that kid was mad. So then they started this like horrible thing, and because the allegations are serious, then the principal has to write it up. It has to be investigated. Things like that have to happen. And even though the teacher at the end of the day didn't do anything,
he was just doing his
remotely
job.
close. He was just doing his job.
Yeah.
He didn't even do anything remotely close to what was alleged.
But because the allegations are serious, there has to be action taken.
There has to be action taken.
Yeah.
And it's things like that. Like, it can just blow up out of proportion and cause undue.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. And so thank you for being honest. I know it's a sensitive topic. I feel like you answered it beautifully, and you were able to give not just your perspective, but the vibes of the school and the student body. And Mark, you just represent students very well. I definitely want to compliment you on that.
I'm glad. That's my job. I'm glad.
Literally your job. Yeah. And so that's been part 2.
Awesome.
That's been the interview, and thank you for letting me be your first interview. I hope you enjoyed. And okay. And thanks everyone for watching. This has been Wake Up New Bedford with Mark Dressel. I'm sure you'll see a lot more of him in the city, so stay tuned. Okay. Peace.